Welcome to ComfortTV.channel news, bringing you verified and balanced news from Nigeria and around the world. I am Faith Kevin. Thank you for joining us this evening. In the headlines, crisis looms in Abia community over ban on native doctors' New Yam Festival. Flood submerges communities in Ajeromi Ifelodun. Rivers Assembly resumes legislative duties after 6 months of emergency rule. Abia farmer cries out over destruction of crops and farmland by cows. Federal government earmarks 300 billion naira to solarize hospitals. 60.26% of candidates have credit passes in NECO's English and Maths. Ohaneze urges federal government to release Nnamdi Kanu for medical care. In business, banks' delay in financial results and interim dividends raises investor concerns. On the foreign scene, Albania's AI minister says not here to replace people. Trump to designate Antifa major terrorist organization. In sports, Messi, Inter Miami agreed to extend contract beyond 2026. Super Falcons celebrate Onome Ebi as she retires from football. In the news, tension is brewing in Okonako community, Ohafia local government area of Abia State, following a ban placed on members of the Okonako traditional herbs and roots practitioners, popularly known as Dibia Okonako, from celebrating their annual Iriji New Yam Festival scheduled for Saturday, September 20. The herbalists, describing the move as unlawful and unconstitutional, have vowed to resist any attempt to stop the festival, insisting it is part of their fundamental right. In a strongly worded petition addressed to the community's traditional ruler, His Royal Highness Ezen Dukweiko, and copied to Governor Alex Oti as well as security agencies, the practitioners, through their lawyers, NB Carlo Esquire, demanded the immediate lifting of the ban. They argued that the ban amounts to a gross violation of their rights to freedom of worship and association as guaranteed under Sections 38 and 40 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. The controversy reportedly arose after the community town crier announced the exclusion of one of their members, Chief Uche Ikenga, from the festival, an action the herbalist said was unjustified. According to them, the subsequent blanket ban was linked to their refusal to excommunicate Ikenga without cause. The practitioners alleged that efforts had earlier been made to disrupt their first Iriji outing on September 16, 2025, with threats of arrest and detention. They also stressed that their association is duly registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission (CAC). The group called for urgent intervention by the Abia state government and security agencies to investigate the legality of the ban, monitor the festival to forestall unrest, and provide adequate protection during the celebration. They pledged to conduct their activities peacefully, but warned of legal action if harassment continues. When contacted, the traditional ruler, Ezen Dukweiko, defended the ban, citing security concerns. He accused the native doctors of imposing a 30-day curfew on the community, an action he described as oppressive and disruptive. He added that similar tensions erupted last year, nearly resulting in fatalities. A heavy downpour in the early hours of September 18 has triggered flooding that submerged Hospital Road and Akogun Street in Ajeromi Ifelodun local government area of Lagos State. Residents lamented that blocked drainages along the street linking to Westminster Road worsened the situation. One resident, Mrs. A. Uzo, described the rising water levels as dangerous, warning of possible outbreaks of waterborne diseases. She appealed to authorities to urgently clear the major drainages by the expressway to allow free flow of water and deflood the area. The flooding forced many shops to shut down, while motorists and pedestrians resorted to alternative routes. Another resident disclosed that the community has been underwater for 4 consecutive days since the week's first rainfall. After 6 months of political stalemate and federal oversight, the Rivers State House of Assembly held its first official plenary session on Thursday at 10 a.m., signaling a major step towards restoring normalcy in the state's governance. The plenary, led by Speaker Martin Amewule, convened at the conference hall of the legislative quarters along Abia Road in Port Harcourt, where lawmakers have been meeting temporarily amid the crisis. This return to legislative activity comes just a day after President Bola Tinubu announced the end of the emergency rule in Rivers State. The president's decision also reinstated Governor Siminalayi Fubara, his deputy, and the suspended members of the House of Assembly, effectively ending the direct federal administration that had been in place. Lawmakers were expected to use the Thursday session to set a new legislative agenda and chart a new path forward following months of political tension. The sitting was also seen as a potential turning point in fostering reconciliation and restoring institutional stability in the state. Political observers say the Assembly's comeback will play a key role in determining how swiftly Rivers State can rebound from the prolonged disruption. However, at Thursday's plenary, lawmakers demanded a review of how funds were spent on projects and programs during the 6-month emergency period. The motion, sponsored by 9 members including House Leader Honorable Major Jack, Deputy Leader Honorable Linda Somiari Stewart, and 7 others, was unanimously adopted by all 26 members present. Reading the motion, Jack noted that the emergency rule officially lapsed at midnight on Thursday, restoring full democratic structures in the state. Jack further noted that several contracts were awarded and funds spent from the state's consolidated revenue account by the outgoing administrator, making it necessary to establish a clear picture of what transpired. Speaker Right Honorable Martin Amewule, after a voice vote in which all members backed the motion, said the Assembly would formally write the governor to request the names of commissioner nominees and a fresh budget proposal. Ms. Felicia Nwokonte from Umuanandume in Umuahia North local government area of Abia State has cried out over the total destruction of her crops and farmland located near Obioma quarters behind Timber Shed Market, Umuahia, by cows. The 53-year-old mother of 4, who said she was into farming to support the family, told newsmen that she could not recognize her farm as cows did not only eat up the crop, but also completely leveled the entire farmland in a fenced plot of land. Narrating her ordeal to newsmen, Ms. Nwokonte accused the herders of breaking the padlock with which she locked the entrance gate to the fenced plot of land before grazing the flock on the farm. Describing the destruction of her farm as cruelty and the height of wickedness, the mother of 4 called on Abia State government to come to her aid. Asked if she had tried to confront the herders, she said she was afraid they might attack her. Attempts to get reaction from the police were unsuccessful, as neither the police public relations officer, PPRO Maureen Chinaka, nor the commissioner of police, Danladi Isa, picked calls put across to them. Despite the enactment of anti-open grazing laws in Abia State, cows have continued to graze openly, even with impunity in parts of the state, including the state capital. Streets of Umuahia, the state capital, are sometimes littered with cow droppings as the herders have continued to roam with their animals even at night, despite government warnings. Abia State Government Protection Agency, ASEPA, recently threatened to arrest the cows, but the threat seems to have only fallen on deaf ears. The federal government has earmarked 300 billion naira in the 2025 budget to solarize tertiary medical institutions and federal universities across the country. The chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Appropriation, Abubakar Bichi, disclosed this while flagging off the solarization project at the federal government-owned Aminu Kano Teaching Hospital, AKTH. He stated that he had a thorough discussion with the president regarding the urgent need to address the state of hospitals and universities in the country. According to him, these institutions were significantly lagging behind, particularly in terms of power supply, despite having brilliant doctors and nurses. He emphasized that consistent power was essential for them to function properly. He added that the president had given him the go-ahead to include the necessary funding in the 2025 budget and that about 300 billion naira had been allocated for all tertiary medical institutions as well as federal universities. No fewer than 818,492 candidates, which represents 60.26% who sat for the 2025 Senior Secondary School Certificate Examination (SSCE), organized by the National Examination Council, NECO, recorded 5 credits and above, including English language and mathematics. Announcing the results at the headquarters of the council in Minna, Niger State, the Registrar and Chief Executive Officer of NECO, Professor Dantani Ibrahim Wushishi, disclosed that 38 schools were found to have been involved in malpractices in 13 states. Wushishi also disclosed that 9 supervisors, including 3 in Rivers State, 1 in Niger, 3 in Federal Capital Territory FCT, 1 in Kano, and 1 in Oshun, were also found guilty of various forms of malpractices. He disclosed that 8 schools were affected by communal clash in Adamawa State, which led to the disruption of the examinations from July 7 to 25, adding that 13 subjects, 29 papers, and 559 students were affected. He said the council had commenced talks with the state government with a view to conducting the examinations for the affected schools, pointing out that the results of the affected schools could not be released now because they were incomplete. The President General of Ohanaeze Ndigbo Worldwide, Senator John Azuta Mbata, has appealed to the federal government to release the detained leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, so that he can access medical treatment. In a video message sent to reporters on Thursday, Azuta Mbata said the government stood to gain nothing by keeping Kanu in custody and should instead explore a political solution to resolve the matter. Kanu was first arrested in 2015 on charges including treasonable felony. After jumping bail in 2017, he fled the country but was rearrested in Kenya in June 2021 in a controversial operation and has since remained in the custody of the Department of State Services, DSS. Azuta Mbata also used the message to urge Igbos across the country to take part in the ongoing voter registration exercise. The call comes as debates around Kanu's detention continue to generate reactions from political leaders, community groups, and rights advocates, many of whom have suggested political dialogue as a way forward. ComfortTV.channel news returns shortly with business, foreign, and sports news. Many thanks for staying tuned. This is ComfortTV.channel news. On business, the Chief Executive Officer of CFG Advisory, Tilewa Adebajo, has stated that Nigeria was not yet in a debt crisis despite concerns over rising borrowings. Adebajo, however, warned that urgent fiscal reforms were necessary to ensure long-term stability of the economy. Speaking during an interview, The Morning Show, Adebajo explained that while Nigeria has breached some provisions of the Fiscal Responsibility Act, the country's debt remains manageable if corrective measures were taken promptly. He pointed to the Medium-Term Debt Strategy (MTDS) as a critical tool for ensuring sustainability in debt management. According to him, the MTDS, commonly used by the International Monetary Fund (IMF) and the World Bank, provides a framework to assess and manage a country's debt effectively. Adebajo further argued that the government's emphasis on tax reforms should not overshadow the more pressing need for fiscal discipline and structural changes in public finance. Highlighting a positive note, Adebajo observed that most of the government's debt financing was currently sourced from domestic market securities rather than the central bank's ways and means advances. He said this has helped to provide a measure of stability in Nigeria's debt profile. On foreign news, Albania's new AI-generated minister addressed parliament for the first time, defending its role as not here to replace people, but to help them. The world's first AI government minister was appointed last week by Albania's Prime Minister Edi Rama. Last week, Rama said the AI will be entrusted with all decisions on public tenders, making them 100% corruption-free, and every public fund submitted to the tender procedure will be perfectly transparent. Diela was launched in January as an AI-powered virtual assistant to help people use the official e-Albania platform, which provides documents and services. Albania ranks 80th out of 180 countries in Transparency International's Corruption Index. The mayor of the capital, Tirana, a former close associate of Rama, has been in pre-trial detention for months on suspicion of corruption in the awarding of public contracts and money laundering. But the AI minister has angered the opposition. The government's plans, they say, were adopted after a rowdy debate in which the opposition boycotted the vote. The AI also responded to constitutional concerns, noting that the law speaks of duties, responsibilities, and transparency without discrimination. The fight against corruption is the key to Albania's bid to join the European Union. Rama aspires to lead the Balkan nation of 2.8 million people into the bloc by 2030. Still on the foreign scene, U.S. President Donald Trump said he would designate Antifa, a shorthand term for anti-fascist, as a major terrorist organization, a move he threatened in his first term. For years, Trump had blamed Antifa for various wrongs, from violence against police to being behind the U.S. Capitol riot on January 6, 2021 that aimed to block Joe Biden's presidential election win. Trump threatened the move after senior White House official Stephen Miller vowed the administration would dismantle an alleged vast domestic terror movement that he linked to the killing of right-wing activist Charlie Kirk. Critics of the Republican president warned that such a move could be used as a pretext to quash dissent and target political rivals. Antifa, whose name has roots in socialist groups in 1930s Germany that opposed Hitler, has a track record of confronting right-wing groups and engaging in civil disobedience. During Trump's first inauguration in January 2017, scores of black-clad mask-wearing Antifa and other persecutors smashed windows and burned a car in Washington. But FBI Director Chris Wray responded in a congressional hearing that Antifa was a movement or an ideology as opposed to a group. On sports, Inter Miami and Lionel Messi have agreed to extend the Argentine superstar's contract to remain in Major League Soccer MLS beyond next year's World Cup, according to a source close to the matter. The contract extension will ensure that the 38-year-old remains in a competitive action until and after the 2026 World Cup hosted by the United States, Canada, and Mexico. The official announcement is expected within the next 2 weeks and will mean Messi ending his career in MLS. Messi moved to Inter Miami in 2023 after an unhappy stay at Paris Saint-Germain. Messi was named the MLS Most Valuable Player in the 2024 season, even though his team were eliminated in the playoffs. The Super Falcons have paid tribute to their captain Onome Ebi, who announced her retirement from professional football, closing a career that spanned 2 decades and set several records in Nigeria and African football. In a statement posted on X through midfielder Rasheedat Ajibade, the team highlighted Ebi's leadership and achievements, noting that her influence went beyond the pitch. Ebi leaves the national team with 109 caps, the highest by any Nigerian female player, and a reputation for consistency and longevity. She also becomes the first African footballer, male or female, to play in 6 World Cup tournaments, achieving the milestone at the 2023 edition. In her own farewell message, Ebi said her career had been shaped by challenges and victories that taught her lasting lessons. And that's our news bulletin for today. But before we go, here is a recap of our top stories. Crisis looms in Abia community over ban on native doctors' New Yam Festival. Flood submerges communities in Najeromi Ifelodun. Rivers Assembly resumes legislative duties after 6 months of emergency rule. Abia farmers cries out over destruction of crops and farmland by cows. In the business scene, banks' delay in financial results and interim dividends raises investor concerns. On the foreign scene, Albania's AI minister says not here to replace people. On sports, Messi, Inter Miami agreed to extend contract beyond 2026. Thanks for watching. For breaking news, exclusive interviews and more, follow us online at ComfortTV.channel on our platform. Remember to like and share our videos, subscribe to our channel, and click on the notification bell so you don't miss out on any updates. I'm Faith Kevin. Until next time, stay safe, stay informed.